Join us today as we explore one of my favorite species, ume or flowering apricot. Welcome back, everybody. This is one of my favorite species to work on. It's because it's pretty low maintenance and it has these really showy flowers. Of course, it's ume or flowering apricot or prunus mame. So it has a lot of different names. It has the characteristics, these really cool, sorry about that, really cool flowers with a really flaky bark. You can see a really flaky bark. And it's really characteristic of deadwood. Has this amazing scent, like a spicy cinnamon, I call it. And it only flowers really at the beginning of the year. And it's pretty low maintenance. And the bad part about ume or flowering apricot, they usually get ignored the rest of the year. This is, this is the time to shine. There are some concerns with prunus ume, or mame, excuse me. They only flower from the old growth, okay, not from new growth, from old growth. They don't like to back bud pretty easily from my other videos. They have to be wired pretty young, usually around April, May, and then you need to cut back. Usually, I like to cut back after flowering, and then at that point, usually I'll cut back down to 1 or 2 nodes to shorten the branch structure. The other way around for ume, of course, is grafting. Grafting, you'll have to graft back to old, lower into the branches, and then you're creating that branch structure from there. So that's one, some of the drawbacks with umes, but if you can find one, buy it because you're buying age. So I'm going to show you different varieties, but the number one thing that a lot of people talked about, Andrew talked about that, Jeremy Lee talked about that, is you don't grow ume because you may not flower for you. This is why you kind of buy a ume plant that actually blooms for you, because there's some randomness, and I'll show you some randomness in a couple minutes here. Here's another ume that needs a new pot. You can see this is a cracked pot, but it's been growing in this cracked pot for a while. This is a ume that I got from Glenn Van Winkle. It's almost close to 10 years now. Has never flowered, and last year it flowered right here. It's a pink bloom. Looks like Peggy Clark on this branch, and so that one branch bloomed. This whole thing has not bloomed, and then this year I discovered there are flowers. Oops, excuse me for my shaky handiwork there. There's flowers on that branch. So now this branch right here will start flowering. So again, that's kind of the bad part about ume, is if you get a young plant or a seedling, it may not flower for you just yet. So that's kind of the bad part of umes. And of course, you can see the flowering, the growth that has flowers on it, it's actually kind of more coarse growth versus young growth or juvenile growth that does not have any very twiggy like. So it's kind of ironic that the branch structure you need is the juvenile foliage versus your foliage that you really need for your flowering side. So I don't think this is a pikey cark actually, because it's not double. Or is it double? I don't know. That's a good question. It looks like 5 petals or 6 petals on this one. It looks like 5 petals on those. It may not be a Peggy Clark, but I guess this is probably a single flush or single bloom pink is my guess, because you can see it's pink with white anthers with yellow stamens. So let me go to your next tree. You've seen this tree before. I'm actually crouched between. This is one of my ume trees I show. I need to cut it back again. This is where I need to kind of trim back everything back. I let this kind of grow out, kind of knowing how to grow umes without reading a lot of literature, and I found that you need to really cut it back pretty hard. I think I'm going to do that probably this year, trying to lose a lot of the linear branches, the really thick linear branches, and try to go to some of the refinement as best I can. This is a Peggy Clark. You can see by the you can see by the double flush blooms on that one, and it's all pink, solid pinks. Really rigorous grower. This guy's, you can see, this is a really old one. You can see the thickness of that guy. Grown for about this is probably when I started. I picked this up from this is from Baikoen Bonsai, and this was actually a ground grown tree at one point. So again, I knew this had blooms, and then during the summertime, by the leaves you can tell it's a smooth texture. I can't really explain it, but this is a double pink. So this might not make the show at this point. Let me show you another tree that's a Peggy Clark. Peggy Clark, excuse me. Here's another Peggy Clark, another field-grown tree by this is Baikoen Bonsai from and again, this is my neglect tree. This is my trial run to see how it kind of grows. This is actually going full shade, and surprising, you can see there's still leaves on my tree. You can see how big the leaves are. They're not pretty big leaves. This one I'm gonna really cut back pretty hard this year to see its growth cycle. But this is Peggy Clark, and then I grown for about the same. Actually, I think this is older than the other tree. But this is grown in full shade just to see the tolerances. The blooms are not as tight, but they're plentiful. So it's still not as big of a show as the other tree, I think. Let me show you some really other interesting varieties of umes that I have. All right, this is a contorted version, and flowers, unfortunately, has finished blooming. You can see there's some branches in the back that's blooming right now. It's a double level bloom with a red sepal, and I don't think you can see that's right there, but it's pretty much done flowering. This is actually in my house, and just as a test run, like in full sun, these things do pretty well, surprisingly. I most likely will probably air layer some of the stuff this year. There's some interesting branches up here, kind of to air layer, so that might happen this year. But yeah, much weaker variety comparatively to the other, like Peggy Clark, the other straight varieties. This is a much weaker variety, much more interesting. And you can see this one shoot back there. I'm gonna cut that off. The one that's actually flowering, or I might just keep it depending on it as a straight variety. But yeah, so that's a different variety. This is one of my favorites, just because it's contorted, and it's just interesting. You know, it's a rare variety. Let me show me another type. All right, here's another variety that I've been growing. So this has been growing in this spot, and I let it grow wild under this tangerine tree or mandarin tree. It's just a unique variety. I never seen it. I don't know. It's a dark pink. It's not a red. It's a dark pink. Multiple petals. Dark pink, yellow. Actually, it's a little red. The anthers anthers are kind of pinkish. I'm wondering if this is Kobe. I think that's how you pronounce it, variety. And again, it's only blooming off 2 branches. So that's like the drawback of umes when we say make sure you buy a tree that blooms, or this is why we don't grow our own trees, because you don't know if it's going to bloom the time that you put in, because some trees may not bloom for like 100 years. So this is why we kind of say buy a tree that's already blooming, and so you can put the effort in. But the only problem with that is you don't build the trunk, you don't build the structure, so there's a lot of drawbacks to it. So let me show you one more variety which is interesting, and I'll kind of end the video here. Here's the last variety. It hasn't bloomed just yet, and you can see that it's not bloomed just yet. This is a variety that Lindsay Shiba actually got from China. I think this is a wild apricot, or flower, like a regular apricot tree. The blooms are single 5-petal white with green sepals, and it has this really vigorous growing variety. So we think this is actually like a fruiting apricot, just because the trunk is very different. It doesn't have that craggly bark just yet. It does have it down here. It does have that craggly bark. So it's like a fruiting ume or a flowering ume, or yeah, or who knows. But it took, I think this is 25 years old, and it was cut grown, saved from the nursery. But that's what this is why you kind of don't grow umes just for a bonsai tree. It's kind of disheartening, but yeah, that's how it goes. If you guys have watched this video up to this point, thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel. Of course, like and subscribe if you haven't. I have a lot of subscribers have not liked, subscribed yet. Love to put you guys onto the account. And again, leave a comment. What do you guys think about umes? You think we should grow them or not? Until next time, everybody, thank you so much for watching and listening then. Bye-bye.